I'm Hugh Hewitt. Senator Lindsey Graham is my guest. Good morning, Senator. Welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of fun exchanges yesterday, and I want to get to them because you talked to
Yeah.
Secretary Blinken, Secretary Austin, Secretary Raimondo. I want to get to them. First couple of political questions. You've got two friends running for president, Tim Scott and Nikki Haley, who you've probably known for a combined 30 years. You also speak Trump fluently. You're friends with the president. Are you going to endorse someone? Did I miss that you already had?
Yeah, I've endorsed Trump.
And so what do your friends Nikki and Tim say?
Well, I told them that I was going to do it. I wanted to stay close to President Trump. I thought he was a good president. And I told each of them, you've got a story to tell. You can grow the Republican Party, get into the race, and don't look back.
All right. What did you make of the town hall last week with the former president on CNN?
Generally speaking, I thought it was, very conversational. His answer on abortion was awesome. He's the first guy to really understand that the extremism on abortion lies with the Democratic Party, who wants to abort babies up to the moment of birth, taxpayer funded. I thought it's good for him to go into hostile territory and sort of stand his ground.
Now, the audience got slagged by most of the reports because they applauded, especially when he was scorning Jean Carroll. When he is being applauded, why are people applauding him during that?
I just think the New York legal system seems to be a bit off the rails when it comes to Trump, the Manhattan DA. And, the accusation made by Miss Carroll against the president, he's vehemently denied. And, he says, I don't know this person. I don't know how you can deny that accusation. And the bottom line is he says it didn't happen. And he made light of the way it happened. And, the January 6th stuff for me was a mistake. I don't find January 6th to be a beautiful day at all. But, other than that, I thought he did a good job.
Last question about that. When he says the election is rigged, again, you speak Trump fluently, what does he mean and what does the audience that applauds think he means?
I think he means that the system that they use to count votes and to, deal with mail-in balloting is skewed against Republicans. And Republicans seem to buy into the idea that places like Philadelphia and other places are notorious for cheating. But here's what I would say to him about that. There were irregularities in 2020, but I accept the results. And the best way for him to win in 2024 is to compare what he would do for the country and has done for the country versus what's being done to the country. If he does that, he's likely to win. If he keeps running a grievance campaign, he's likely to lose.
You know what Martin Luther said about the Epistle of James? You may or may not know this, Lindsey Graham. He said that's a right strawy epistle because he doesn't like the theology in it. But I think what I say about the election of 2020 is a right strawy election, meaning changing rules, Zuckerbucks, Biden in the basement, the suppression of the Hunter Biden story. But I do not think the machines were rigged, and I do not believe there was cheating on Election Day of significant material impact. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I do. And here's what I would say. One, I have no idea what you were just talking about. So, like most of your audience, you're way over our head. So, I need to study more before I come on. The bottom line is, I don't believe there was massive fraud. I'll just be honest with you. I believe there was, taking the law and turning it upside down during COVID probably led into mail voting in a way that wasn't sort of on the up and up. But I have told the president, I thought he was very good president. I understand being upset with 2020, but if he wants to win in 2024, there's a way to do it. Biden has given him an opening a mile wide on policy. Take it.
All right, now let's go to yesterday, because this was really quite the wild hearing. You couldn't get anyone to call Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. You couldn't get anyone to say we will defend Taiwan. You couldn't get Gina Raimondo to admit that China is buying all of Iran's oil. Is there any coherence on Team Biden anywhere?
Well, so here's what got me going. This was a hearing. celebrating the Biden approach to containing China and the new tough man approach to dealing with China, whole of government, all this BS, right? And the first question I asked Austin is, do you agree with me that if we fold in Ukraine and pull the plug and give Putin Ukraine by force of arms, China will invade Taiwan? He said, oh, absolutely. And other bad actors will respond. The next question was, do you agree with me that the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan emboldened all of our enemies? Well, he answered the first one correctly, but he said, no, it didn't. So
I know, that's just reality denying.
Yeah. What I want your audience to know, this is BS about our policies toward China. If you're weak anywhere, you're weak everywhere. Let's look at Ukraine. The bottom line here is we failed to deter Putin from invading. The administration has been late giving every weapon the Ukrainians need, right? They will not label Russia state sponsor of terrorism because they don't want to upset the apple cart when it comes to Russia. China is watching, and they see us being slow. They see us being hesitant when it comes to going all in to helping Ukraine win. The Iranians have increased oil revenue 20% every month because they're buying oil from who? Selling oil to who? China. China is getting every signal from these folks that we're all talk and no action.
Should the United States do away with strategic ambiguity about the defense of Taiwan, Senator Graham, and announce that we will sink China?
Yes, and let me tell you why. Because we're headed toward a conflict with China. Now, what did Ronald Reagan do to make it clear to the Soviet Union about invading Russia? Europe. He put nuclear-tipped cruise missiles into the European theater, telling the Russians, I will not match you tank for tank, the Soviets, but I will use tactical nuclear weapons to defend the freedom of Europe. That, along with Star Wars, broke the Soviet Union. I was there from 84 to 88. He moved the missiles into Greenham Common, a base in Italy, and really all over the European theater, telling the Soviets, if you invade conventionally, I will use tactical nuclear weapons to wipe out your conventional advantage. So here's what I would tell China about Taiwan. I accept the one China policy. I'm not advocating for independence. But if you invade, we will defend this democracy, and you will, with every means possible. And I would introduce into to Indochina, Indo-Pacific region, tactical and nuclear weapons to offset China's conventional advantage if they invaded Taiwan. I would say we will go to war for Taiwan.
Yeah, that's what I want done, Senator. Do you think national security issues like that will be on the table and dominating in the Republican primary season, not the general election? That's too far off to figure out what the world's going to look like. But do you think national security matters between the Republican candidates for the nomination?
Yeah, I think it should, and because I want to know what I'm buying here, right? And I told you, I thought Trump did a good job destroying the caliphate, standing up to China, on and on and on. But here's what I want to hear. Here's what I want somebody like you to ask. Do you believe it was smart to withdraw from Afghanistan? Was it we withdrew badly was the problem, or we shouldn't have withdrawn at all? You can't do a dumb thing a smart way. So I want the Republican nominee for president to understand it was a fatal mistake to remove all of our troops from Afghanistan. I want the Republican nominee for president to articulate a deterrent strategy against China that's far better than Biden, and answer the question about what would you do if China invaded Taiwan.
Thank you. I agree. I don't know if I'm going to get to ask any questions. Do you want the former president to participate in every debate? Are you counseling to do so?
I'll leave it up to him. I think he probably will. I think it's probably to his advantage. Here's the one thing you can say. A lot of talented people up on the stage. None of them have been president. I was president. Here's what I did when I was president. It worked. Here's what Biden's doing. None of it's worked. I can change it pretty quickly.
Last question, Senator Graham. Is it fair to call Team Biden appeasers? Because that used to be an ideology in the 30s that you avoid conflict at all costs, even if you're feeding the tiger in the hopes that it eats you last. Do you think Team Biden are appeasers?
I think that's a slam on appeasers. I think they're beyond appeasement. They're empowering our enemies. They're indecisive actions. Look at Iran. Iran is growing